Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through how I made a maple leaf block, and the coloring I chose was two colors, a yellow and a white. Looking at this block, you can see it's basically a 9-patch block with some modifications. Each of my patches are going to be 4.5 inches square, and my block will finish to 12.5 inches. You can make this quilt block any size you like. If you want to make it the exact size I'm making it, you'll need, for color 1, you'll need 2 4.5 inch squares and 2 5-inch squares. For color 2, you'll need 3 4.5 inch squares and 2 5-inch squares. Step 1 is to make 4 half square triangles. We're going to take our 2 5-inch squares of color 2 and we're going to pair those up with our 2 5-inch squares of color 1. To make these half square triangles, my first step is to take both of the lighter colored 5-inch squares and I'm going to draw a line across each square diagonally from corner to corner. My next step is to place a 5-inch square of color 1 right sides together with the 5-inch square of color 2. Next, I take these two pairs to the sewing machine. I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch away from the line that I drew on both of these sets. Next, I flipped those units around and I stitched about 1/4 inch away from that line down the other side of the line that I had drawn. And next, I cut these two units apart from each other. Then I cut directly on the line that I had drawn on both units. Next, I took my half square triangles and pressed them open towards the darker side. Alright, let me show you how I trim these blocks. I'm using the diagonal line on my square ruler, and what I'm going to do is lay this block down on my cutting mat. I'm going to make sure my left edge and my bottom edge overlap the 4.5 or meet it so that I can trim off the excess from the right side and the top side, keeping that diagonal line lined up. Then I'm going to flip this block around the other way, line those two cut edges up with the 4.5 inch lines on my ruler, and trim again. With the 4 half square triangles done, it is time to lay out my block. Oops, something doesn't look quite right here. I went back to my diagram and found out that I had turned these half square triangles the wrong way, so I went back and fixed those. There we go, that looks more like a leaf. To assemble this block, I'm simply going to sew together the top 3 blocks to make a row, the middle 3 blocks to make a row, and the bottom 3 blocks to make a row. The last step is putting the rows together. I use clips to hold my rows together on the seam line. Wherever these seams need to match up, I'm going to use a clip to hold that in place. First, I'm putting row 1 and 2 together. I'm going to flip row 2 up onto row 1. I am going to do something called nesting seams, where I am kind of rubbing and moving these seams. They're going opposite directions, which is what you want, and I'm going to kind of feel them into place. They're going to lock, they're going to catch. When those seams are going the opposite way, you can actually nest these seams. They lay flatter, they lay nicer, and once that's nested, I put a clip on that, and then I'm ready to take that to the sewing machine and sew these 2 rows together. Now it's time to add row 3. I'm going to do the same thing, flip up row 3 onto the top of row 2. I'm going to nest the seams, clip them together, then I'm going to stitch these 2 rows together. The last thing I'm doing here is pressing this block flat. This is a fast and easy block to make. You don't have to use just 2 colors either. I'm putting a coloring sheet out on my Etsy shop. You can get that for $1, make as many copies as you want, and give it away to friends. And just let your imagination go wild. One of the samples on the coloring sheet shows a quilt done in red, green, gold, and a white background fabric, and it turned out super cute. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you back real soon.